What is up, ladies and gentlemen, Manny here, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another efficient cuisine episode. I recently invented a new recipe. I call it liquid tiramisu, and that's because it's really reminiscent of tiramisu. Actually, it's a milkshake. And this is a recipe that you can actually use as a nice post-workout meal, in my opinion, because it contains quite some fat, contains also a bit of carbs, so really getting you back on track, you know, after burning some fuel, after some workout. Now it's actually breakfast time, so in terms of a pre-workout I would not recommend it so much because, yeah, as I said again, it's containing quite a bit of raw fat and we don't want to have too much fat floating around in the blood, you know, when we start to work out. But anyway, I will go over the ingredients first. Let's check it out. So we've got raw honey here, okay? And we've got 1 raw egg. Here we've got raw butter. This is actually something that's fortunately still available in Austria. I know that in some places in the world raw dairy is already banned, it's already illegal. Anyway, if you can get raw butter, congrats. You should keep always 1 block out of the fridge, okay? Because this way, especially in the summer, it stays soft and it stays blendable, okay? Which it doesn't if you keep it in the fridge. So yeah, keep it out of the fridge, you're gonna use it up quite quickly anyway. Here we have 1 very ripe banana, as you can see, and here we've got walnuts. These are nuts from our own nut tree in the garden, and we cracked them ourselves recently. And this is actually something that's very important. Again, if you crack your nuts open, okay, you need to take them and either vacuum them in some sort of plastic thing and ideally put them into some kind of fridge, or you put them in a jar like this and put them in the fridge, because only if they stay cool and sealed, they won't oxidize and get rancid as quickly, okay? So this is something that you should keep in mind once you crack your nuts, that you keep them in some sort of fridge environment, in some kind of container, away from oxygen, essentially. And here, of course, we've got raw milk, okay, which is gonna be our main solvent, so to say, for these wonderful ingredients. Something that you need as well is a fine meshed sieve, and of course, a pretty well-powered blender, okay, because we want to shred some nuts with this blender. So if you have something like you know, these commercial ones, which don't go enough in terms of speed, you know, you need to have something with decent amount of speed, because you want to get these nuts grinded down in a recent amount of time. You don't want to blend super long, because then again you're introducing a lot of oxygen into the mix, yeah? So ideally something with a lot of speed with really sharp blades. So let's keep starting. Let's start with mixing the thing together. Banana goes in, just 3, in the form of 3 easy pieces. Boom. Next goes in the nuts. So we always have to check if there is still some shells in there, okay? We don't want to throw shells in there, because the shells will make the blades dull really quickly of the blender. So here we've got, you see, tiny handful. So here we take another tiny handful. And these nuts are really high quality, okay? The one way to spot rancid nuts is when the surfaces that are actually here free from the scale here, when they become translucent, okay? This is something that you can see very often in store-bought nuts when you get them from the supermarket, okay? You can actually see that they probably already laid somewhere around for quite some time, and then they lay somewhere in the packaging for quite some time, and this way they get rancid, okay? They never get cooled, they never get into a fridge. So ideally you have a nut tree and do it yourself. Alright, I think we have enough nuts. Just to give you an impression how much nuts you actually need, okay? This is not a lot. It's a decent amount so that you can taste them, but it's not super much. Then quickly lid on top again and back into the fridge to prevent them from oxidizing. Okay. So now let's go in with the egg. Why not? Whole egg, okay, including the yolk, including the egg white. Don't want to waste anything. Now comes the butter. Now, depending on how satisfying and filling and you know, relaxing you want it to have, you add more or less butter, okay? If you have this as a pre-workout meal, you probably want to add only very little butter. If you have it as a post-workout meal, then you can increase the fat content, as I do now. Drop a knob of butter there. Again, it's really important that it's room temperature, otherwise it won't blend. Alright, so there we are. Now comes the honey. We don't want to overdo it with the honey, okay? Just a tiny droplet of honey. Adds a bit of sweetness and also adds a bit of enzymes theoretically to neutralize some of the nut contents to some degree. Nobody has ever studied this scientifically, of course, but apparently it works. And lastly, we go in with milk. So now I take a look at my measurement scale here, and I always go up to like something along the lines of 500, 600 milliliters, okay? So let's see, how big are we? 500 mils, a little bit more, 600 mils, because then we have a nice mix. Now it's important to put the lid on top, and you put it on top properly, okay? You actually seal it, because this way during the blending process at least only this chamber of air can get into the blending contents and oxidize the stuff, okay? And again, we want to blend for as little time as possible, because then we get as least oxidation as is necessary, okay? Let's blend. And that is already it. You can hear during the blending process when the knives get into the nuts, okay, it's making a quite high-pitched sound, and at some point that's just stopping, and that indicates that the nuts are quite properly shredded already, and in that case you can actually stop blending and reduce the blending time as much as possible. What I'm getting now is a small plate. This is for the nut mousse that we're actually gonna get out of this, and then we need a glass. Where is our proper receptacle? Where's the proper receptacle?
Von dir.
There. Okay. Some good Erdinger receptacle here. Now comes the work part of the smoothie, of the shake, because now we're gonna actually strain everything through the sieve. As you can see, it works quite well because the nuts have been shredded quite a lot. And now with the spoon, we're simply filtering the milkshake out, okay? And depending how many nuts you use, depending on how much butter you use, this can take a bit. It can take 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Yeah, that's the work you gotta put in for the awesome taste. As you can see, slowly but surely, something that's left in the sieve is this really nut mousse thing, which you do not have to throw away, okay? You can just simply take it, harvest it out of the sieve, and then you use this for a yogurt, for some sort of, you know, sweet muesli or something like that, okay? It's really nice in combination with these foods. Let's go in with a little bit more shake there. Again, we've harvested some nut mousse. Let's press the last contents here through the sieve and then simply take it and put it somewhere on a plate and use it later as a topping for muesli or yogurt. Okay, time to try this, I would say. The glorious time has come and we can actually try what we make. Wow, pretty nice. Again, it works amazingly. For some reason, the nuts give just the right tastes, the right impressions, so to say, to make it like tiramisu. Okay, the nuts are slightly bitter, which is somehow reminiscent of the cacao that's always on top of the tiramisu, and as well of the kind of alcoholic, doughy stuffs that is below it, you know, which is drenched into the tiramisu. I think it's drenched in it's soaked in some sort of alcohol actually. And
coffee.
And coffee. Yeah. So that's what gives the tiramisu the slight bitter taste, you know, along with the sweet stuff. And this is just perfectly mimicked by the nuts in there. And we've got the sweetness from the banana and from the honey. We've got the kind of creaminess from the egg yolk and the butter. And yeah, the milk is just basically a carrier substance for all of this stuff. So really amazing. Yeah, if you have a high-powered blender at home and you have a fine meshed sieve and everything that you need for this recipe, go for it. Try it out. It's really worth a try. And you can basically regulate whether it's a post-workout or a pre-workout meal by the fat content of the butter, okay, essentially. And this is also the main caloric carrier in this recipe. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Drop a like if you did and a comment for more efficient cuisine episodes in the future, if you would like to see them. We would be motivated to make them, maybe. Let's see. We still need to invent some new recipes maybe, but yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I hope you enjoyed. See you soon in the next one, guys. Keep crushing. Bye.